right, here we go with Walton chain. This was our number 2 most requested for analysis today. So I've got Walton to Bitcoin. Now I'm very fond of this project. I've got I've got some luggage here. So long-term holder here. I do like the potential, but as we look at it here with regards to trading opportunity, there's some interesting things here. So here's the December 18 low. This is we were looking at in Binance Coin and Bitcoin. Now it looks to me like we have a truncated fifth here. Now this is technical. This is kind of interesting here. So it looks like the algorithms use this pivot here to that swing low. So here's a perfect tag of the golden zone here, and of course you can see they get from here it's to the tick, right? So then a little reaction, but then they end up getting second target and bumped it a couple of times. So right, very technical right to that low. So that's a good sign. We know algorithms are in here. Now I think you can go 1, 2, 3. This looks like A, B, C into the 4, and I can get 5 down here, but we don't get a new low on the 5. So we're just opening that up a little bit so we can get a better look in here. I think we can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We just don't get the new low here. So it's very slight, right? Just a couple of sats here. So I think this is the better place to start from, is that this is our low here. And so coming off of this low, we've completed here. So 18 low, truncated fifth. Now looks like we can start up. Now right off the chute here, it gets a little squirrely. Because of the depth of this retracement, I'm much more inclined to think that we have a leading diagonal into a one wave. The depth of the retracement here would imply a second. Now it is deep, so if I grab this now as my low for the start of the 1 through that pivot, we've had the spike through here. It doesn't invalidate the idea that we've got a 2. Right? We lose the buy side algorithm, but you know, there's opportunity for that to come back in. The sell side, right, we'll look at that in a second. So if that's a leading diagonal into 1, now granted the extension's in the 1. Oh, actually I should check that. At first glance it looks like it's in the 1. Nope, it's not. So 3 is longer than 1. A little skinny in the 5th, but I think that plays better as a leading diagonal into an A, B, C, right? Good luck on the C. I know it's going to be very difficult to dig anything out there, but that so much of crypto made that a same move here. We spiked down and it didn't resolve cleanly. But now coming off of that, let me go to a 1 hour, because I think this gets kind of interesting here. So if this is the 1 A, B, C into the 2, and then we've gone 1, 2. Well, again, just like with Binance Coin, here's where we can use some of these traditional swing relationships in Elliott Wave to help us zero in on where we may be more likely to, oh, whoops, sorry, wrong one, where we're likely to find that third. I want it on this degree. So if I grab my 1 here, looks like I've got a little A, B, C into my 2. Well, look what we do here. So here's the 1618 to the tick. So 1, 2, I like this now as the 3, come down for the 4. We don't challenge the 1, kicker in the 5. So here I do get a real extension in the 5th, but I think that plays better as 1, 2, 3, 4. Big swing in the 5. So what have we completed there? Well, I've got an impulse. So 1, 2, 3. You can't even see my 3. Here's the 3 here. Oh, shit. God, that's annoying. All right. So here's the 3. So 1, 2. Now we've had just a very slight overlap here. So what do you do with that? Well, I mean, it is, I had to use the magnet to see it. So you can see it's very, very tiny little overlap, but an overlap is an overlap. So you have to rethink that. So this now, I think, has to be considered with that overlap. We're not looking for an impulse there. So I think you have to go A, oh shit, well, you could do it a couple of different ways. So you could do it this way. You could do A, B, and then we had the big extension in the C. You could probably do it A, B, C. I don't know that it would matter here. So we've got to construct that so you can get an A, B, C into the A. You know, it's tough on the B. A, B, C, and so you'd have to go from here, A, B, C into the 3. Slight overlap here. Now, if the 2, oh shit, hang on. If the 2 is correctly identified, up to the 3, Where are you looking for the 4 in a diagonal? Right at the 50. So we bump into this structure here. Yeah, we get a slight break. Now, what's more common here, if I open this up, is that the first rip down after a move like that, you can, well, let me open it up so you can see. You can see there is a little ABC in there. If I open this so you can see it. So there, it's subtle, but it's, oh shit, let's get this off here. So you'd have to do it this way. So you're coming down. So shit. It looks like A, B, C into the 4. All right, that's a contender. Now it's not. I mean, it's there, right? So you've got 3 waves. So how are we going to know? Well, this has to get. We got to get a motive wave here. So if the 4 is in, and I'm not convinced that it is, but if we, what would be the alternate? So we could come down here. We could have an A, B, and a C like that. So, or here, or nothing says we have to put in a new low, but we want to be conscious of the fact that we've overlapped here. So as it's a diagonal, well, we can do 2 things. If the 3 is in, we want to check both the 4, but also the start of the 1 as it's a diagonal. Right? So if I get that dialed in here, is this a candidate for the 4? Well, if you look at the length of time of the 2 relative to the 4, you get a little bit suspect of that because the time difference is so substantial. It looks a bit more like we've just done an A wave here and B coming. Now, of course, you won't be able to know until you see what happens on the retrace here. If we're coming down here, are we going to do something along these lines? If we're going to come up here and we're going to stay in a 3-wave structure, do we come down here? We're not worried about the 1 because we've already overlapped the 1. But here would put us at the larger 50 and the and the first algo target. So this is a real possibility here. Now, before we get to that, this needs to show itself here so we know where are we. If it's going to keep going higher, well, we know that the 4 is in. So is there a trade there? Yeah, I think you could trade this, but you got to be realistic about how far that can go. So on the long side here, yeah, you'd be a trade buyer right there. But where's the stop? See, I would put the stop under that pivot here because that structure has already been tested once. So, and because it's not the cleanest trade I've ever seen. Because of that, so we look here, if we're going to just get first algo target to go up and get the 5th, just to open that up so we can see it. Well, there's 8 to 1. Yes, that's tight, right? So very, very possible you're stopped out quickly, but I'd always rather take the stop and take a small loser than just kind of, drag this thing down and say, well, maybe, well, let's go into the big 6 one. Now there's 1 to 1. So now we use this pivot here. There's 3.4 to 1. Yeah, I mean, anything 3 to 1 or higher is okay, but why? If that little pivot here is significant to us, and because I've got that ABC, even though it's skinny, I've got that subdivision, I don't know that I'd be giving this a whole lot of room, right? If I'm trading this, I don't know that you got to give it a little room to breathe, but I wouldn't be, so the other thought is wait a little bit, see if we're going to push off, because right now this could easily just kind of spill over here, and maybe we do come down and test the 50. Remember, we're looking for the 4 here at the 50, right? We're not there yet. That's start of the 1 through the pivot of the proposed 3. So if you wanted to be a little more conservative, you might kind of tee into some of this structure right here. Maybe then you'd get a little better subdivision here. So how would you know? Well, this is going to need to shape up for you. All right, then I feel a whole lot better about it, looking for something up here, because I'm just, the symmetry plays better of this ABC to this ABC. So I'm not saying don't be a buyer there. It's not a trade I would take. So, but if I got this, yes, right, then that for me this would be potentially a place to add. So if this is A, B, C, so what's the tell? Well, what happens here? Do I get 3? Do I get 3 here, or am I going to go into a motive way, right? So we don't know way to know. So we're going to get something like that and then come down, or we're going to get this to imply that we're off into the 5th. All right, that could be the 1 of the 5th. It could also be, much larger, right? So we could have this 5, right? So, and of course that would suggest higher prices. So I'm just kind of free drawing that to make the point. So is there a trade there? Well, if you're particularly bullish, right? You could put on a trade there, but I just would not give that too much beyond the 50 here, because we could easily come down here and do this. We could easily come down here and test. Well, here's point of control. Here's the prior pivot here. That could be some structural support for us as we come down. So if I were buying this at the 50, see if I get a better looking retracement. So if I can get this, something like this, if I were to get that or 50 or the 618, then I'm looking here. Well, then I like this better, even though it's kind of a wonky. Well, look how kind of bizarre this one was. So if we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, you've got some structure here, so that at least you know you've got an algorithm with you. So as we look, so can we lean into the idea that an algorithm is working off of this pivot? Well, yeah, all right, something happened there, right? That's to the tick, perfect, right? It's not random. I promise you guys, it's not random. So from that pivot, do they have legs, or does this need to come down here and check some of this structure here, get closer to the 618, and then the whole thing could start to break down. This could all get relabeled as just one giant big ABC, and then we're going down again. I don't think that's what's happening here, but you can't eliminate the possibility that this is just an ABC and then we're going down. But there's not that much farther to go. So if we've got the solid low area and this double bottom identified down here, and this is going to start to go, well, I think this is the most friendly count to the idea that we're putting in a larger diagonal. So potentially 4 here. Now, of course, if we get up and get this, all we've done is just put in the one wave of the larger degree. Then we'd be pulling from the, got to make a judgment call there. Algorithm's not going to worry about a truncated fifth. It's just going to use the lowest pivot low, the dominant low. So from that low to, if that's the pivot, if this is the pivot, the trade that's worth waiting for, in my view, is this one. Right? Again, I'm just using, I don't have this, obviously. I'm just using the algo target here as a candidate for the God, that is the most annoying feature of TradingView. So if we come down and get this, right, from here to here, right, so what's the hurry, right? So if we get this, right, so do you want to, roll it, maybe, could be. It's just not good enough for me. There's too many other choices here to say, now granted, I've already got some of this, so I'm not jonesing to get in here. I suppose, right, you could make a case that, it's low enough here, you could be a buyer here of some modest amount of size because you like the project, you want to get long. But if you're trading this is much better setup, right? Because then we have clarity. We know we complete the motive wave here. Then we know if this comes, then we have a hot buy zone down here that we can lean into, and then we can start to put more structure on it. So then, oh shit, you probably use the lower low. Well, let's just use this. So just to make the point, then you've got something like this. Maybe you get a golden corner here. Let's go original. Now, TradingView can get on your nerves. Okay, there we go. So then you'd have potentially a 1-2. Then you're into the third. Now, nothing says we have to stop there, but that could be the 1-2 of the third of the larger degree. Shit, nothing says we have to do it at the median line. There, we could hit it here. So that potentially could just be the 1-2 before we go up of the 3, 4, and 5 of the degree that's higher. So this would be 1-2. That'd be 1-2 of the third of the higher degree. So if I'm being picky here and I'm not dying to get in, I wait. This just isn't good enough for me. I wait for that. Let me see. Give me the 5. Then I know what I've got. Then I'm much more confident in the idea that I put in a double bottom low down here. I've got my motive. It's a little ugly, but I've got my motive wave. I'll wait for this. Right? Nothing says it has to be there. We could easily do it right here. Right? You've got all that structure, and at some point, this is likely to be a factor. Right, that's they blew through it on the first time. So where can I look for? They got a number of these, right? So a couple of areas where you've got some structure that may kick in. Shit, all of this as well. So right in front of the golden zone. So you've got definitely better potential trades setting up right now. I think it's a crapshoot, right? I mean, yeah, you can take it, but is that the best thing you can find? I'll bet not. All right, guys, that'll do it for today. Back